Jag tror att jag har text already. Kaya vai sinani. आवाज ना आवाज नहीं. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me. If you can hear me and you can see me, please type something in the chat or the questions pane, and I'll know that you can do that. And we're gonna get started in just a moment. Can people hear me and see me? You can't see, I can't see you and hear you. James is saying he got it. He can hear me and see me. Yep, loud and clear. Awesome, great. Thanks, Jason, man. Appreciate you. Awesome, good. So I am like new to the Zoom webinar stuff, and very familiar with GoToWebinar that I've used for the last 10 or 12 years. So it's a little bit of getting used to. I've used Zoom for meetings, but on a webinar, it's a kind of a different situation here. And so, Patrick, hopefully, yeah, people can hear and see me. If you can, just a few more people can that are here, kind of type something in that you're good in terms of hearing and seeing me, and that'll be great. I want to make sure before I get started that there's no it's crazy when you're halfway down the path of doing a presentation and people tell you, you know what, I didn't hear a thing you said. So can hear and see. Awesome. Great. Hey, Randall. Awesome. Let's get started. And so the title of this presentation is Post-Pandemic Practice Accelerators, 5 Ways to Kickstart into High Gear. First is, I want to say that I want to acknowledge you for being here. A lot of practitioners, they're sitting around, they're waiting, or they just aren't bold enough to start moving past the pandemic. But you're here on this webinar. That tells me a lot about you, and this is important to you. You're ready to move forward and to take action. So I give you a lot of credit coming from my heart for thinking like that, wanting to move forward. And something, the stuff you see in the blue line there, fear lives in stagnant waters. When people are not doing anything there and they're paralyzed with all the negativity and so forth, and there's lots of it. There is truth of what the pandemic is, the crisis and so forth, but there's a lot of negativity, and fear lives in stagnant waters because that fear kind of puts us in a place. It's like deer in a headlight, right? We don't know where to move. We are kind of stuck in one place. And so the purpose for me to do this is for you, to help you and be part of the 5% that's moving forward. And the 95%, the stuff that you see on the right, that is people that are like caught, deer caught in a headlight. So the 5% that are moving forward, they're doing a few important things. And this slide is really important. These 5% are playing offense as opposed to what? Playing defense. 5% are playing offense. And what does offense mean? They're thinking about two things, how to make clients win, number one. Number two is they are thinking, how can they grow their practice, right? And they're doing it by protecting, pivoting, and adapting, and I'll go more into that. The 95%, this is where you'll find lots of people around you that are the deer in, caught in like a deer in a headlight. They're playing defense. Defense is what? Continuing to operate the same way. Business has changed. Things have changed. You can't you can't be in business or in practice and continue working the way you have. And they're thinking along the lines of retreating. They're thinking along the lines of saving. They're thinking along the lines of shrinking. And so that's the 95%. I hope you're part of the 5%, because, the 5% is the folks that are, protecting, pivoting, and adapting. So we are in a weird time where some areas are opening up faster than others. Big cities with lots of public transit, the Northeast is an example, the bigger cities where they've got, lots of people, high density of people, New York, New Jersey, and others, places in the country. They've got hit a lot harder than more rural areas. A portion of your clients will be struggling financially. Consumer buying habits have changed. Social distancing and virtual is the new norm. And we'll talk about what protect, pivot, and adapt means for you in your business. But before we go far, I'd like to kind of hear from you. What are you most excited to get from this session? It's going to be about 1 hour. It's going to move fast. What do you want to get out of it? So please type in the chat pane, what is it that you'd like to get from today's presentation? Give you guys a few seconds, because I like to tailor make this as best as I can so that it's meeting your needs. All right, answers coming in. Please continue typing. I'm going to share because you'll hear what other practitioners are thinking. And I really appreciate the interaction here, because that's kind of, it enhances the learning for you, and it makes this more, more enjoyable, more fun. All right, so James saying increasing fees. Patrick saying how to win clients and grow. Jim saying new marketing ideas to implement. Awesome. Pete, hey, how are you? Haven't talked to you in a while, so interested to hear what you have to say. Awesome, cool. Catherine saying surviving the rest of personal tax season, then moving towards helping business clients going forward. If you could also address the issue of making sure we get paid, especially by business clients, because thus far a lot are asking a lot of questions that I've not been charging for. Awesome, cool. We are going to cover that. Now, I know there's a whole lot more of you on this webinar, and I want this to be interactive, right? So kind of please chat, what are you most excited to get out of this? I'm not offering any continuing education, so none of you are here for the continuing education credits. I know that, and it's not for my looks, so I know that. So I know there's something you want to get out of this. What is that? Take a few seconds and type that in. Jimmy saying different ways of contacting clients, Zoom, etc. Awesome, cool. Let's dive in into the stuff. Actually, how to get the most. I want to share with you a few things in terms of how to get the most from this session. Number one, no distractions. Pretty obvious. For the next 45 or so minutes, 15 minutes, no emails, no social media. Just kind of stay with me. Bring your A game. I'm going to give you mine. My speaking style is going to be fast. I want to cover a number of things in light of the current environment. I want to share with you my 2 senses, my insights, my knowledge or my thoughts when it comes to many different areas. And so I'm going to move fast. I won't have time to go back. Number 3 is not being too smart for the room, not saying that I know this already, because to know and not to do is like not to know. So we're going to talk about new ideas, and we're going to talk about what? We're going to talk about implementation, because implementation and execution is when results happen, right? Intellectual entertainment is good for just the time we are entertained intellectually. And that's about it. So I don't want you to say, man, I know this stuff already, because you're going to get new ideas. Some stuff you may know, but there'll be some definitely you're going to, see a different way of looking at things. Number 4, turning point. I share this in all my education that I do, webinars, live events, and so forth, is that I don't want this moment, this webinar, this opportunity, you and me, to pass. And this could be your turning point where things can be very different going forward than they may have been in the past. So pay attention, eyes and ears open to embrace what's coming your way and to be present, to be engaged, to give your best and look for those opportunities. Look for this as the opportunity to make it a turning point for you. And number 5 is I'll share a free bonus, very straightforward. It's a one-on-one talk, conversation, strategy session with me. I'll talk more about what I get into, and so we'll have that. So it's going to be that's kind of what I have. It's to continue the conversation with you. If you're looking for the turning point, how do we make it a turning point for you? How to take this webinar and move it forward. But we're not there yet. We'll get to that. Let's start off with talking about this diagram that you may have seen. It was really an idea that started from Simon Sinek. He wrote the book Start With Why. Many of you, I'm sure, have read this book, Start With Why. And he writes that the why is more important than the how or the what. And really, when we look at it from ourselves, you and me, is why did you start your own practice? It's a rhetorical question, but that's the starting with the why. Why did you start it? And these are the answers that I receive when I ask this question. Is people will say freedom. I want to work when I want to work. Or they'll say it's for having a positive lifestyle. I want to have, I want to enjoy life. I want to have a balanced life. Or perhaps it's, making a difference for your team and for your clients and for yourself and your family and, the community that you live in, right? So that answer kind of comes in, different words from different people, but it's kind of around those things that I just shared. And we get into practice and we realize, my goodness, this is pretty difficult. This is not easy. Much like climbing a treacherous, steep mountain with all different weather elements that are getting hit, that you're getting hit with a burden on your shoulders, like the picture that you see here. So it's a difficult journey being in practice and to sustain a successful practice. And these are some of the disruptions we face as practitioners. Number 1, pandemic, right? That's on your mind, that's on my mind, pretty much 24/7. And it has been for the last couple of months, right? And then beyond that, before that, we had all this list of things that you see here, competition in cloud and fee structure. Some of you guys shared that, and staff shortages, demanding clients. How do you attract clients? Yeah, and what about time in the day? We don't have enough time in the day to get all this stuff done. And so it makes it a difficult journey to be in practice. And despite this, I believe that the accounting industry is a lucrative business to be in. I really, really believe that this is one of the best industry to be in. Very quickly, some of you are new to me. You may have joined my, my list fairly recently. Some of you have been with me for 7, 10, right from the beginning. So very quickly, here's my story. I worked as a CFO in Manhattan many years back, 6-figure salary, corner office, but I hated my job. So in 96, I started my practice. I've been at it for this is my 24th year. My practice is located in central New Jersey, called Straight Talk CPAs. And so I started my practice in 96. I found that it was not as easy as I'd imagined. Went $100,000 in debt, had employee problems, poor quality clients, cash flow is always tight, and I was working long hours and had a really a bad lifestyle. And my epiphany, my realization was that I was working hard, but I wasn't working smart. And my turning point was this guy here. He's Michael Gerber. He turned 80 a couple of years back. I'd spoken to him just a few years back. And I read his book, The E-Myth Revisited. And the way I was approaching my business, he helped me transform, to change that, my mindset, the way I was approaching it, the way I went about working in my practice. And it, through his coaching in those early years, I was able to create a successful, thriving 8-person CPA practice that allows me to live the lifestyle that I want. And any of what I share about myself, it's not to brag in any way, because that does you no good. It does me no good. It's really just to let you know what's possible, right? It's to come to you from a place of possibility. That if you're working a lot, and your clients are difficult to work with, and you're not finding the right people, and you're working long and hard, it's because you're not approaching it in the right way possible, right? In the way I'm going to share with you a few strategies and techniques to that can be transformational, like they have been for some of the case studies examples I'll give you. And there are many. Rogers, a CPA in the Midwest, Minnesota, revenue increases of 180,000. So this is stuff, strategies that work. He's in practice for like close to 40 years. He's in practice for that long, and strategies that work for an established business that is in the Midwest, $180,000 of recurring revenues. Then he is a fairly new practitioner, 5-7 years at it. In 2019, from 18, he had $190,000 increase in revenues in 1 year. Reduced his hours during tax season, profits up 45%. Startup, somebody who's new in the Northeast, Boston, worked with him, exceeded his 2019 goals for growth. He's building systems, procedures, no longer bogged down in the day-to-day stuff. So the important thing, folks, is what I created, a rule that I had to create out of necessity for myself, because I would attend webinars, seminars, I would read books, and I found myself to be not very far from where I was. And it forced me to create this rule of 72. And the rule of 72 is not what you think. It's not an investment rule where you divide it by whatever the interest rate and you double your money. This is the rule of 72 hours, is to take action within 72 hours. So if this is, if you get an idea, something strikes you as it's making sense, you want to move in the direction of implementing it. Now, you're not going to complete that task or that idea or that goal, but you start moving in that direction, because if you don't, that idea is just going to fly away. It's going to go to the back burner, and then it's going to disappear. And now it was just another idea, great idea, but nothing happened of it, right? Back to action and execution and all that. So important. Nolan Bushnell was one of my keynotes in one of a keynote in one of my conferences several years back. Nolan was known for finding Chuck E. Cheese, and he was Steve Jobs. He was his first employer many years back, and he shared this on from the stage, and he said, the critical ingredient is getting off your butt. And I say this, he says it, I'm sure, out of no disrespect. It's getting off your butt and doing something. It's as simple as that. A lot of people have ideas, but there are few who decide to do something about them. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. The true entrepreneur is a doer, not a dreamer. I disagree with Nolan on the last line. I think an entrepreneur is a dreamer and a doer. They're both. You need the dream. You need the you need the passion, and you need that desire, right? The bigger thing that you see, that you then go for. And in order to get to where you want to get to, the goal, the objective, the vision, then you've got to be a doer. Yeah. And that's kind of what brings the results. All right. Everyone still with me and finding this useful? The one or two things that resonated with you so far, please type that in the chat pane. The one or two things that have resonated with you so far. Share that, and at some point I will make sure that I go through that and share it with everyone else, right? What is the one or two things that have resonated with you so far? All right, let's move on to the agenda. The Genius Model, we'll start off with that. What is the Genius Model? So the Genius Model is a framework that I created from my own experiences in my own practice, and then working with practitioners, actual practitioners, helping them, rolling up my sleeves and working with them and helping them grow their practice. And this is kind of the framework that makes the most sense to me and them of how to think about your practice. So here's what it is. The Genius framework, the Genius model, is paying attention to three areas. To get what? To build the lifestyle practice. A lifestyle practice is your goal. For the most part, people want a practice that serves them rather than the practice, them serving the practice, right? They want to create a practice that serves them, not the other way around. And I call it the lifestyle practice. A lifestyle practice gives you three things. It gives you freedom to work when you want to work. It gives you income. You're making the most, the maximum amount of income. And it enables you to have impact, to make a difference for your team, for your clients. And in order to create a lifestyle practice that gives you these three things, you need to pay attention to three areas: client attraction, the blue circle that you see there, championship team, and then streamline operations. So what I mean by client attraction is putting a system in place that is attracting you and giving you the right type of clients, paying you the right type of fees. That's what client attraction is, right? And putting a system, a funnel in place, a system in place where all the heavy lifting is done through automation and putting stuff on autopilot. That's what client attraction is. And championship team, now when you've got client attraction, you've got a championship team that's all on the same page, that's working like a team. It gives you what? It gives you freedom to work as much as you want, how much you want. Now, when you've got client attraction, the steady stream of clients, and you've got a streamlined operation and your practice working like a well-oiled machine, what does that give you? The maximum income, because it's working efficiently, it's working predictably, it's working consistently. And then when you've got a streamlined operation, you've got a championship team in place. What happens when those two things meet? You are making a difference because you have freed yourself from the hour to hour taking care of clients. Some of you call it the grind. It takes you away and out of that to do what? The higher value stuff, which is reaching out to your clients, finding out how they're doing. And I'll talk about that as we talk about protecting and pivoting and adapting. But that's how you make a difference for your clients. And it's probably stuff that you enjoy doing most. So client attraction, championship team, and streamline operation. Now let me take you to the outer layer. And those are what I call the practice accelerators. How many are? And there's nine of them, 3 for each one. 3, 3, 3 makes it 9. 9 practice accelerators, and you can read for yourself what those 9 practice accelerators are. So the Genius model, it gives you that framework to think of your practice and to know which areas you want to work and what are the 9 practice accelerators that you want to implement in your practice. So it's not like I'm going to do this and I'm going to try this and I'm going to do this. It's not like guesswork. This is like a very proven model, a very proven system for you, even during the crisis. And I'll tell you some modifications that we're going to need to do. But for the most part, this Genius model works brilliantly well. It worked before the pandemic. It works, during, and it's going to work after, right? So I want to kind of give you this as the number one thing that we want to cover. And now we'll talk about where the shifts are going to take place in terms of your Genius model in light of the current situation, right? So first is protecting. Protect is the first thing. Protect, pivot, and adapt. Protect your clients, protect your revenues, protect your top line. And the way to protect is to provide 5-star service. It's more vital than ever because you don't want to lose clients. It's about revenue preservation now, right? And providing a 5-star service, which is part of the Genius model, going back to the Genius model, 5-star service, you see it right here in streamline operation, right? We've got 5-star service. We can need to pay more attention to this, guys, right now, right? We need to pay more attention to this, providing 5-star service. Pivoting, you need to pivot your message while you build authority to be relevant to your audience. So your message cannot be about financial statements and things that your clients, prospects, it's not as important for them. They're in survival mode. What do they need? What kind of things do they need to hear from you so that you remain relevant during this time, right? So you need to pivot your message My whole marketing changed these last couple of months because it was about pivoting. It was talking about things that was important for the people we are talking to, whether in person, whether in print, whether in online stuff, whatever it is, right? We got to pivot your message regardless of the service you provide, right? We got practitioners. There may be some attorneys on this call, and I saw a couple of thoughts, questions, whatever that came from how do I get legal clients. There may be folks that are providing attest services like audits and reviews, and that's kind of your area of focus. You may be in the wealth management, or you may be in the tax resolution. Doesn't matter, right? The genius model, the framework I shared with you in the previous slide, is relevant to you, and pivoting your message is more relevant to you now than ever, right? Adapting, right? Protect, pivot, adapt. Adapt means adapt your services, adapt your offering so that it remains, it is what your clients want. And advisory services are vital to help your clients survive and grow. Cash has been king these couple of months, and in the months going forward, cash is going to speak. It's going to be about cash for your clients, for your business owners. It's going to be advisory that is incorporating cash flow forecasting and helping them understand where's the money going, where's the money going out, right? That's a subset of advisory services. But this is how you want to be looking at your service offering, your services agreement, your service offerings, and adapting it to incorporate some of the things that your clients need, which is survival. How do I survive, right? And when you help a client survive, they're a client for a lifetime. And this is the beauty about our business. It's recurring revenues, folks, right? This is not a one-off for us. When we bring in a client, they stay for 10, 15, 20. I was on the phone before this thing with a client, been with us, I think, close to 20 years. I mean, paid hundreds of, probably like 7 figures, just like this one client, because he's got multiple entities and so forth, right? So this is the beauty about our business. It's recurring stuff. So you're helping a client and not seeing the dividends currently, it's okay, right? It's okay, because what you're doing is you're planting seeds and you're nurturing and you're bonding with these clients and helping them during probably one of the roughest patches that they've ever encountered in their life, and they ever could, right? If you're there with them and you're helping them and guiding them through this process, and I know many of you have, incredibly, and I wrote a post about, how accountants are like the most super cool people in the world, because I truly believe that, of how you guys all stepped it up. And it's not about just doing that as just this one-time thing. Let's kind of continue that momentum of staying on with the clients and helping them navigate through each aspect of their entrepreneurial journey. So, talked about the genius model. Let's talk about protection. And protection is protecting. I kind of started alluding to it, protecting the bottom, the top line. But here's what it really means, and what you can do from an action standpoint is reaching out to all clients and making it all about them. Find out their status. How are they faring? What can you do to help? Rebuild relationships, communicate with them based on their feedback. Over deliver and over communicate. Those should be the 2 words kind of ingrained in everyone's minds here and in your team's minds. Over deliver, over communicate, right? We have a weekly touch point, either by you, one of your team, have group Zoom calls with a discussion subject. Invite your clients, invite prospects, invite their friends, whoever, right? People that are in business that need to hear a relevant message, have those. I've done a webinar on cash flow forecasting. Just different folks that I've invited these past couple of months, more so than I ever have. just because this is what people need to hear from us, and they need that help, and they need that they need the support and the assistance. All right, so now I'm talking about, I've been talking about over delivering, over communicating, and you're probably saying to yourself, you could be saying to yourself, Salim, I've got tax returns to do. I'm busy. I've got work to do. I need to start getting billable stuff and doing that. And all say, well, say, that's all good, and that's fine. You've got that, but you need to also spend time on delivering, communicating with your client. So this is the guy you see on the picture. Some of you probably recognize him. Is Jay Abraham. He says entrepreneurs fail not because they're working hard, but it's because, what did I say? Entrepreneurs fail not because they're not working hard. It's because they're doing the wrong work, right? It's not because you're not working hard. You're probably working hard, but you're doing the wrong work. And I want you to now start thinking of moving as we get into, wrapping up tax season and into the months thereafter, so that 2021 is going to be different from you than 2020. You can't be doing the same things you've done in 2020 and previous years. It's going to give you the same similar results. Yeah, sure, a 1% or a 2% or a 5% increment, but nothing significant, right? If you want to do significant stuff, you got to change of, the way you work and how you spend the time on what do you work on. So I'm going to give you a formula. I call it the 30-60-10 rule. It was inspired by Rob Nixon a number of years back when I first met him. He says, focus on these 3 activities. And this is kind of it's become one of my, the things that I help and keep my coaching members accountable to. 30% spent on high billable work, high-end billable work, 30% of your time. 60% of your time spent on client development, sales, and marketing, and then 10% of your time on team and systems development. So this is kind of what you want to do or move towards it, right? If you're 90% in the first thing, high billable work, you want to move, towards 30%. You may not get to 30% right away, but you want to start planning and moving towards that. So from 90%, you may go to 60% and move your way towards that. Client development, this is really important, folks, especially now. Client development is client nurturing. It includes sales and marketing. It includes outreach efforts to prospects and so forth. But more importantly, it includes client development. 60% of your time, a 50-hour week, do the math. 60% of that is what? 30 hours divided by 5. That's majority of your time. Several hours a day you want to spend reaching out to your clients, finding out, hey, how you doing? What's happening? And having conversations with them. This is your pot of gold in your firm. Whatever size firm you have, your clients, and especially the top 20% of your clients, that's your pot of gold. And you want to nurture those relationships now more than ever. And so that's the 30-60-10 rule. And to get to this, you want to start looking at delegating stuff. The things that you're doing, simply the things that you're doing, you want to get it out of your plate. And if you look at it, you'll find things that you're doing that you shouldn't do. Become intolerant to those things that you shouldn't be doing that you currently are doing. All right, let's move on to next thing, which is goals. But I want to hear from you. You guys probably have shared stuff. Let me read that and share what that is. What's resonated the most with you so far? What's the 1 or 2 ideas that you've got from this? What's been impactful for you? What are you walking away from? Take a few seconds and share what that is. The 1 or 2 things so far that have made sense for you. All right, answers coming in, which is great. And if you haven't, um, I'd love for you to. What's the one thing that you've got from what I've shared so far? What's reinforced? What's reinforced for you? Maybe it's not a new idea. Maybe it's a reinforcement for you. It's a new way of looking at it. It's a new way of applying something that you may know already. Cool. Let me share what that is. Two different ways of contacting clients, how to get legal clients. Okay, so that was Pete saying that was a great conference. I'll never forget it. 2015. My goodness, in Nashville. Pete, has it been 5 years? Crazy how time flies, right? And it was great having you there, man. Scott saying, just do it. Cool, great. Patrick saying being both a dreamer and a doer. 100%, man. Entrepreneurs, they've got to dream, they've got to do both. Kathy saying, unpleasant clients, I've turfed most of them, but some remaining clients are showing some not so nice behavior during this crisis. Kathy, no reason to keep them. No reason to keep them. Share with them your expectations of them. Set the bar, set a high bar for them. And guess what? If they're not willing to get to that high bar, what are you going to do? You're going to tell them they're not the right fit. And guess what? You are going to find more clients. You're going to find more clients. One door closes, another will open. It's when we are not willing to let go is because it's, we are being fearful. And I'm going to tell you, looking right now at you, Kathy, is to let go of the people after you have this conversation with them. Patrick saying the 30, 60, 10, good. Great way to think of your week. Adopt is very important, says Jimmy. Sonia says 30, 60, 10. Kathy saying very challenging to find time to reach out to business clients right now, but I know I should be doing it. Hopefully I'll get better after June 1st, Canadian personal tax filing deadline. All right, hope you'll move towards in that direction. Patrick saying nurture your top 20% high value clients. 100%, yes. Nathan saying, increase my clientele by 25%. Nice. Jason saying, yep, the 30, 60, 10 is a good framework. Awesome, cool. Hey, what about the rest of you? What's the one thing you've got so far from what we have talked about so far? Let's move on to goals very quickly. I'm going to kind of move past this fairly quickly, but it's still very important. I don't want it to be too quick because this is really the crux and the essence of taking movement forward is to think along the lines of long-term, mid-term, and short-term goals. And you want to think along the lines of having a BHAG. This was a concept that was popularized by Jim Collins when he wrote the book Built to Last. And this was Built to Last was before he wrote Good to Great, which became an international bestseller. And in this book, he creates this, he shares this concept of BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And a BHAG is a long-term goal, a 10-year goal. Where do you want to be 10 years from now, right? That's what a BHAG is. And a BHAG can be, let me just move this little baby here. Why do you need a BHAG? Best said by Yogi Berra, if you don't know where you're going to end up someplace else, right? Conceptually, you totally agree with me. But yet I find lots of people don't know where they're going to go, what their destination is. What is your BHAG? I'll give you some examples of what a BHAG can be. It can be, kind of what you read there. It can be a revenue goal. It can be a team member goal, or it can be your client goal in terms of, it should be 2030, by the way, made a typo there. 100% of our clients are financially retired, right? So you can have a a BHAG that's along those lines. Many times I see it along the lines of the revenue, the first one. And I'll give you some examples of practitioners with BHAGs, people that I've actually worked with in their practices in a coaching capacity. Minimize the chat thing there. Danny Fink in West Virginia, Morgantown, small town. His BHAG is 4 million in 3 years. It's 900K. And as I said, I shared his case study earlier. He's at 5. He did 5 something in 2019. So he's on his way to there. Mike, they've got a practice in New Hampshire. Their BHAG is 15 million. 3 years is 5 million. Rajiv, he's in Edmonton. BHAG is 3 million, 3 years, 1 million. Susan is a practitioner that I work with in Colorado Springs, Colorado, 2.2 million BHAG with, in 3 years, she's at 1.4. She's, just met with her, talked to her the other day. She did 1.2, close to like 1.15 million in 2019. And so these are people that created a BHAG. They know what they're, where they want to be 10 years from now. Because from that, what happens is that we work backwards, we re-engineer. So from a BHAG, we go down to 3-year goal, which is strategic objective. And then from that, we go to a 1-year goal. And then from that, we create goals for the trimester. And so in the accounting profession, I like the idea of trimester goals rather than quarterly goals, because it just makes more sense. Having a first quarter end on March 31st, that doesn't work when you're in the middle of tax season. So trimester goals is kind of the way to do it. But it's, it's kind of re-engineering, right? What's your end goal? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? Do you want to be at 500,000, 1 million, 5 million? And by the way, most people underestimate what they can do in a longer time frame, but they overestimate what they can do in the shorter time frame, right? So they'll underestimate what they can do in 10 years, but they'll overestimate what they can do in the short term. And the short term goals are so unrealistic. They haven't worked on their practice for so long, or if they worked on their practice, it's been so haphazard, random, a few hours here or there, or they've done it 1 month and not another, right? So it's not been consistent. So there's more working in it. And now they get excited and they want to create, they want to have like a major 6-figure increase in 1 year. And there's no plan. I want to grow 200K, 300K. And I get this every time. People will schedule a strategy session with me, and that's kind of how much they want to grow. They're at 100K, and they want to grow by 300K the following year. And they haven't worked on it. They've got no plan. They've got no infrastructure. And so, this is when you set, you set lofty goals. The short-term goal is lofty. I want to grow 200K. 3 months down in it, there wasn't a few fires, firefighting that you had to do, not get to doing the working on it that you plan to, writing the plan, putting the outline together of how you're going to, execute the plan. 3 months into it, you're like, man, this is not possible. I set a goal of whatever, 200K, 300K, 100K, and I'm only at this. This is not working. I don't know what Salim was saying. And now you kind of set your long-term goals based on this short-term fiasco that you had because it wasn't done in the right way. So coming from a place of transparency, it's like set realistic goals, long-term realistic goals, set the high standards for long-term. Yeah, 100%. I think you can build a several $1 million practice which is highly profitable, 50, 60, 70%. Yes, possible long-term. And then set a realistic midterm goal, a 3-year realistic goal, and then set a realistic 1-year goal. And that 1-year goal, that realistic 1-year goal, it's got to excite you, right? If you set a really, a 1-year goal of I want to just bring in 3 clients, that's not going to excite you. So we need to be thoughtful about this process. So we don't want to set a goal that's too low, but we don't want to set a goal that's too high because we're setting ourselves up for failure or for getting demotivated, right? So that's kind of how you want to be, you want to be looking at this. All right, is this useful and helpful so far, what I've shared? Kind of let me get a sense of where people are and what you're thinking and what's working and what's kind of, is this useful to you? A few questions have come up, so I want to make sure I'll answer those. Definitely want to make sure I do that. But let me get some kind of you guys sharing. Is this helping you? Has this been helpful to you so far, what I've shared? And if it's not been, I can quickly go through 4 and 5 and we can kind of finish it off in the next 10 minutes or so. I'm good on that as well, because I want to make sure this is helping you. So my question is, has this been helpful? All right. 222, feedback coming in and questions as well. Definitely want to get to that. Scott saying, I have a concentrated practice in restaurants, 90%. Do I pivot in another industry or try to somehow still build on it? Afraid many will close since they're in New York City. Ooh, yeah. Tough. New York City is tough when it comes to restaurants. I totally 100% with you, Scott. So what, the message for everyone here is that let's use this crisis. There's some painful lessons that we're also going to learn, right? One of the painful lessons is putting our eggs in one basket, right? That's going to be a painful lesson, and there may be more. And so I want you to use this time to also self-reflect, right? If you're not maybe as busy with stuff, things have been slower, use this time to come back stronger and more powerful and more effective, right? So if you had one niche and didn't see this coming, and it was tough to see this coming, diversifying, it's something that you want to entertain the idea of diversifying and strengthening your practice from that standpoint. Scott, in your case, with restaurants, another industry, 100%, you want to be looking at another industry. And this is a message for everyone. There's some industries that are going to do well going forward. And then there's some industries, food and travel, entertainment, that are going to recover, but it's going to take a while to recover. Commercial real estate, retail, right? These are travel industries that are going to take a while if they recover, right? Retail, we saw this coming. We should have, we've been seeing it coming for, I don't know, last 10, 15 years, and so there's some industries that are going to do well going forward. And Scott, if you're looking at what do you pivot to, that's what you're going to be looking at. Which industries are going to make a short list of which industries are going to do well going forward? E-commerce, online stuff, is that kind of where it's going to go more so than we've seen in the past? And then also, also look at your skill sets and so forth. What your skill sets are, what your interest is, what type of industries you enjoy working with, and so forth. But that would be the line of thinking that I'd be looking at. Sonia saying yes, working backwards to the goals. Cool. Scott saying sure, how to pivot. Got it. I answered that. Patrick saying valuable. Nathan says value, very helpful. Jimmy, helpful. Yes. Yes, motivating. Elizabeth, yes, sir. Thank you for calling me sir. Kathy saying yes, but can you focus a bit more on how to help business clients without them sucking up all your time and then not being able to pay you? All right, sure. So Kathy, how to help business clients without them sucking up all your time? Okay, so the thing you want to do is see yourself as a valued advisor. And a valued advisor gets people to schedule an appointment with them. And a valued advisor, as much as possible, gets people prepared so that when they come on a call, they are prepared and they value the call. And that's kind of what I would do is you want to have people schedule a session with you, a strategy session with you, or just simply an appointment with you, but have them schedule it and have them send you in advance an email of what they want to discuss. And you may find that some of the things they're saying in the email may be answered in an email, or it can be a shorter call and so forth. So that's kind of the approach I would take. If you feel like people are taking advantage, then I would do it from that standpoint, or you just don't have the time, I would have them schedule stuff, use a tool like Calendly or OneHub, and so forth, right? Schedule ones. These are, and there may be others, so have them kind of jump hoops, or and have them, and you be the one where you said, this is my availability. So, kind of make room for them, but on a certain time during the day. Hi, Kathy, hope that was useful to you. Scott saying, appreciate your comments. Kathy saying, and would you bill them extra for that session at an hourly rate? And so it depends. If it depends on the business. If they are in survival mode, charging them for it may be tough. I had this conversation with one of my coaching members yesterday. So it's going to be the way we have done it in my practice. We've kind of taken clients case by case. We've looked at clients case by case. They've appreciated it, and it's been the right thing to do from our, from the way we've, our approach has been the right thing to do for us. So that's kind of what I would share with you. I've got one of our restaurant clients. He's been a client for like 22 years or so. Currently owns 3 restaurants in New Jersey. Two are continuing. One situation stuff where you want to be continuing. We've been very helpful to him, and didn't talk about money because we knew he was, we needed to, the conversation with him is, let's just, we want to just get you over through this hump, man. We'll talk about fees or whatever later, not worried about it. And then he gets the loan, and he's in a better situation, and he calls me and says, Salim, he sends me an email saying, I need to speak to you personally. And he's so thankful, him and his wife. He says, you saved my businesses, you saved my family, man. I am like million times thankful to you. Tell me, I'm going to write you a check. What is that amount that I can send you your way? And so that was the conversation, coming from this client who's paid me 7 figures by now, being in business for 22 years. They've already paid a lot of money, in fees, lifetime value, right? That I was talking to you about, and is willing to come and help or pay just because, the help came to him at a very, very important time. All right, let's move on, folks. Some questions have come. Sandra, how are you? Saying, this is great, Salim. Modification, emphasis, over deliver and over communicate key. All right, cool. So you kind of made some comments in the questions vein. Elizabeth saying, Salim, hi Salim, how with this virus, reality clients seem to be holding back in money. What suggestions do your members are doing for marketing? Thanks and God bless. From a marketing standpoint, it's helping clients. It's giving advice to clients and saying no charge, no fees. When we get you through the, just kind of the conversation I had with my restaurant clients, right? Just for now, let me help you. Let's, come from that place. Because you charge them money, they're going to walk away. They don't have the money. If they're in, if they're a business like that, if they're a business that have done well through this crisis, then yeah, sure, they have the financial wherewithal. But if they don't, asking them for money, you're losing the opportunity to build a solid relationship and to prove your worth, prove yourself to them, how super awesome you are, and you'll win in the long term. So yeah, absolutely. That's kind of how I'd approach that. Okay, team and systems. Let me give you the highlight stuff, because we are kind of, we move, time is against me here. When it comes to team, you want to make sure, without having the right team in place. People are not going to be on the same page. They're not going to contribute to reaching your firm goals. They're not going to be engaged. You want to have a dream team. You want to build a championship team. And in most firms, the team is not where it should be. It's the owner doing most of the work. The team is not where it needs to be. And it's really a leadership thing. It's a leadership issue. I hate to say this, but this is the truth. This is, and I'll share with you where leadership comes in. And there are two simple things that you can do to up the game in terms of, in your office, in your firm. Because when you get this right, when you get a championship team in place, everyone's working together towards collective goals, high performance and accountability, and you have freedom. You work when you want to work. So my case, I'm in Florida. I've got a home in Florida, very close to the beach. And out of choice, we wanted to be in a warm climate. I was born and raised in Kenya, Africa. It's a tropical country. Lived there for the first 20 years of my life. So that was kind of my dream, is to live back in a warm place. And so it was Florida, near to the beach, because I lived in an island in Kenya, in Mombasa, called Mombasa. And so my practice, as I said, is in New Jersey. I'm in Florida. I've been here for 2 months. 2 months I'm here in Florida. My office runs flawlessly with the team in place. Actually, I was so amazed at my team. I made arrangement to send them a gift basket, and thankfully no one is on the call here, but they'll be receiving gift baskets this weekend because of how amazingly well they have worked as a team and helped to navigate through a tough time with clients and with just everything going on, right? That's no secret how it's been for everyone, right? So it's really the team, a team that shines, a team that's a dream team, a championship team, makes it awesome, and that's what it's about. So two things from a strategy standpoint that you want to be thinking about. One is core values, and then second is communicating with your team and meetings. Now, here's where the leadership stuff comes in. None of your team members are going to say, hey, we need to have core values and we need to have meetings. Who's going to say that? It's got to be you, the leader. You got to be the one in the driver's seat, with having the initiative to do something about having core values. And core values are guiding principles. They are like, this is how we do stuff. This is what our value system is, right? That's what core values is. And you want to get everyone on the same page and create core values. And none of your team members is going to say, you know what, we need to have more consistent meetings, and we need to have more meetings where we're more engaged. They're not. It's going to be you. And if you're not doing anything about it, then that's what you're going to get, right? You're going to get what you're doing in terms of your leadership. And so examples of core values, these are just examples. You'll see hundreds of examples. Don't use any of them, just use them as examples. That's all, because you got to create core values from within yourself. You want to create core values with discussions with your team about what is important for you and for them when it comes to clients, and when it comes to team, and when it comes to the community, and when it comes to systems and technology. You want to have this open heart-to-heart discussion with your team members, and so that you guys can talk about it and come and fine-tune it to a few words that make sense for you. And that's what core values is, because when you've got core values, this is how your firm operates. This is how your firm runs when you're not there. Yeah, when you're not there, when you've got core values, this is what people do when the boss is not, because they've got guiding principles. They've got a rule book, and you need to have a rule book in your practice. If you've got a team, if you're a one-person show, then maybe you don't need a rule book. You need a rule book just for yourself. But when you get more than one person, then you want to make sure that the rule book is there so that you're on the same page. And then the second thing is a communication platform where you're meeting with your team members on a regular basis, right? daily huddles, weekly meetings, and so forth, so that you can be talking about what's working, what's not working, what challenges are people faced with. If the company has a challenge with a client, if the company wants to do something, do a big initiative, get the team collaborating on it, get their thoughts and ideas, because they may see things in different ways. You'll be the end, you can be the one who makes the end decision, but now you've kind of, you've expanded that, you've expanded the point of view coming from all your team members. And that's what team, in a nutshell, well, that's what having teams is. It helps you to, what meetings is rather, it helps you to live your core values and share progress on different stuff, makes people, hold people accountable and so forth. Let me skip through this, and I want to cover systems. Let's go to systems, and then we'll finish off in the next 5-7 minutes. A practice without systems is chaotic. That's what it is. A practice without systems is chaotic, right? A practice with systems is very predictable, consistent. Things are running like, it's like a well-oiled machine. It's predictable, it's consistent, it's profitable, it's efficient. And so many different types of systems. The 3 things that you want to think about, or really 5 steps, is start small. Start small in terms of, get your team involved and have one system or one procedure that they document in a week or 2 or 3. Don't, just kind of make it realistic when it comes to that. And then organize your work. You can think of 3 departments that you want to organize your work, procedures relating to sales and marketing, put them in, in one binder, one folder, stuff relating to operations, another, and then finance is internal stuff. You do it, kind of organize it from that standpoint, and then identify events that call for a system. You get a lead. Do you have a system procedure for that? If you don't, you need one, right? And then start with the most important ones first. So prioritize based on the top line, based on the profits, based on the stress levels, and so forth. And then get your team involved by designating the task. So those are the 5 different simple steps to do when it comes to team. Rebecca is a coaching member from the Midwest, works 20 hours per week, fully systematized a practice using what I just shared with you. So she can be free. So quick recap, folks. We talked about the Genius model, the framework I shared with you, the 3 different areas to create your lifestyle practice. Talk about protecting your revenue preservation by communicating, over delivering. Talked about goal setting, long-term, mid-term, short-term. We talked about team, super important, and then systems. Now, earlier on, I shared with you, right? One of the first slides was the 5% that are moving forward, playing offense, looking and thinking about how to make clients win and how to grow their practice, protecting, pivoting, and adapting, or the 95%, sadly, where the majority of the practitioners are going to be the deer in the headlight. They're going to play defense. They're going to play from a place of being fearful. And they're going to continue the way they've continued, expecting different results. But you know what the definition of that is, when it comes to doing the same thing, expecting different results. It's insanity. It's insanity. So that's kind of, playing defense, the 95%. And so this is a resource very quickly for the 5% who want to look at going forward, putting a plan. What does it look like? Just so many case studies that I have with people that I worked. But this is an opportunity to work with me, starting off with a strategy session to see if we're the right fit. And I work with practitioners really looking at things in 3 ways: growing, bringing in quality clients, building a team, a championship team, and then getting freedom from the day-to-day through systems. So it's for people that want to, the 5%. So that's who this is for. And it's not for people that that want to continue doing things the way they have always done, and they're not serious about growth. They are in information gathering stuff. So the better the fit, the better the results. So I'm looking for win-wins. It's a one-on-one strategy session, you and I believe there's a link in the chat thing. It's limited appointments. You'll see when you go on my calendar, I've set time aside to do this, and that's the link. Let me see if I put it in the chat thing. Yep, it's right there. You should see it, folks, in the chat thing. It is right there. I am going to, can copy it. But once you get into the link, you'll see my calendar. It took me right off the thing here. How do I go back? Is there a way to go back? There is probably. Okay. So we were at the end, but I want to get to the chat pen, the questions. I want to make sure I want to take some questions you guys have. The link, folks, is in the chat thing, so you can kind of click right on that and schedule your one-on-one and see if this makes sense, for me to get my help. Really, 3 things I'll help you do when we schedule the one-on-one is become very clear about where you want to be. What's your end goal? Where do you want to go? Right? The questions I'm going to ask you will get a lot of clarity of where you want to go. Second thing, what we're going to do is we're going to get very clear about where you are, what's working, what's not, so I know what we've got to work with, right? So once we know where you want to go, where you're at, third thing is we'll create a plan to get you where you want to go. And it's going to be realistic. It's going to be one that's going to give you a big ROI. And that's what this plan is. And that's essentially what I do during a strategy session, is to do that. If I see that we're a good fit, I'll invite you to be a coaching member. And if you're not a good fit, I'll let you know politely and I'll kind of steer you in the right direction, in another direction. But nevertheless, you'll get a lot of value from that strategy session. Chat is what I was looking for, the chat pane. Any questions people have from what we have covered so far? Scott saying, I've been doing PPP for 2 weeks straight, helping all my clients. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Cool. Folks, anything else? I mean, any questions that came from this, anything I can help you with? Or maybe just your biggest takeaway, kind of share that as a way of finishing off in the next couple of minutes. Use the chat pane, so I'm not going to go to the questions pane for questions you have. Hope this was really very valuable for you. Time well spent for you on this webinar. Hope you got some ideas, a few reinforcement. You're moving in the, to get you moving in the direction that that's going to serve you. And if you schedule a strategy session, you and I are going to hop on a call in one of these days, and looking forward to that. So let's finish off here. I want to be, we've gone over 9 minutes over the time that lots of good feedback. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We've gone over the time. So apologies for that, but hopefully it was time well spent. So with that said, folks, hope you have a great rest of the day, depending on wherever you are in the country, and a good weekend, and talk to you soon. So with that, I'll say goodbye. Take care. Bye.